I kind of wanted to get a level set and make sure you and I are both spiking at the same place, which it looks like we are.
It looks good, doesn't it? Doesn't it look good?
Doesn't it look good?
It looks very uniform.
Indistinguishable, I'd say. Okay.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we're good.
That's what we love to see in a situation like this. Welcome to Drafted. I'm your host, Neil Prentice, and as always, I am joined by my dear friend, Preston Thompson. But I should say, in reality, I am joining him this week because for the very first time, we are recording together in the same place at his house right now. It's incredible. Preston, I'm telling people what you're drinking. I'm not going to ask because I know you're drinking, but also tell me how you're doing.
I thought this would feel better recording in person, but it kind of feels worse.
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Well, I'm used to doing it virtually, and I was super excited to have you inches from my face.
It does feel a little weird.
And now it feels wrong.
Yeah,
it feels like we've broken it.
Yeah, a glimpse behind the curtain. We're both talking to the same mic from the same side of the table, so it's not very face to face. So it does feel a little weird.
Yes.
But we are going to soldier on because this is a very special episode, Preston.
I'm just going to pretend you're not there. And I'm drinking a nice glass of bourbon on the rocks.
Oh, yes.
You can hear that ice clinking right there.
I almost transitioned fully out of that. I am drinking a truly hard seltzer... what do they call it? A freeze pop.
It's a freeze pop.
Truly hard seltzer freeze pop. Preston and his very tremendous host wife Lauren offered me these, and they're intense. Let me tell you, they're intense. But I'm not one to turn down a
alcoholic popsicle.
A free alcoholic popsicle. I just can't do it. It's one of the rules I live my life by.
I had never seen them before, and they actually look kind of cool. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, when Lauren, you had work to do when we got home from dinner, and Lauren offered me one of these, and I my first one I went for strawberry lemonade because it's just classic. So mine just looked red, and she pulled hers out, and it was the most shocking looking yellow, and it was kind of hard to tell if it was the wrapper or the popsicle itself, the color we were seeing. Fortunately, we found out that it's not the popsicle; it was just the wrapper, because I think any food that would be this color yellow should be ingested by no one.
Yeah, it looks like yellow snow. Which is a problem.
But worse than that. Worse toxic than that, yellow snow.
Yeah, like a dehydrated yellow snow.
Yeah. But anyway, that's what we're drinking. And Preston, this is such a special episode. Usually I would cue to a guest here. There's no guest, just the two of us. And then I would cue to ask you what we're drafting. But we're not drafting.
Nope.
We're taking a look back at Season 2 of Drafted. Can you believe that we've done 2 full seasons of Drafted now?
No. That's called improv. That's called improv, folks.
He's so good on his feet, folks.
I'm not gonna lie. I've had a little bit to drink, Dan.
Yeah, I think both of us.
As you would know, since you've been with me.
I think for both of us, this is probably the most intoxicated we've ever been while recording an episode.
Yes.
Yeah. So you'll have to forgive us any miscues along the way. But why don't we get right into it? Let's take a look back at the season that was Season 2 of Drafted. Of course, we debuted the drafted brackets this year for March Madness, and those were a lot of fun. I don't think there's a whole lot we can rehash because everything was matchup based. We did a lot of breaking down each matchup in those, but just to refresh you and also to update you on what Twitter thought, because we don't usually get to reference that in subsequent episodes.
Real time. Yeah.
So for the best Carpool Karaoke episode, we, along with Kelsey Hayden, chose Paul McCartney as the best ever Carpool Karaoke episode. I stand by that. Twitter though had Adele narrowly edging Paul McCartney's, which I think is fine. I think that's a fine opinion. If I recall, Adele was our finalist. Or maybe they lost in the semifinals or something like that.
Yeah, I think Adele got a bad matchup, maybe.
Yeah, maybe even earlier than semifinals. But I think they're the two best, so I'm fine with that.
I think where we settled is that Paul McCartney's is closer to a documentary than it is a Carpool Karaoke.
Yeah.
It almost feels a little bit unfair.
Yes, you get a lot more than a Carpool Karaoke.
Yes, but it's still my favorite.
Yeah, same. The second Disney, I'm intoxicated, okay? Cut me some slack. The second bracket we did was the Best Disney Soundtrack bracket with Katie Gear, and we decided that The Lion King was the best Disney soundtrack. Twitter thought it was tied, actually, for the best Disney soundtrack with Mulan, which was our bracket finalist. Yeah. So I feel pretty damn good about that.
Yeah, on our car ride from Florida today, we spent probably 6 hours in the car together, and we were just listening to Disney.
Yeah, pretty much exclusively.
Yeah, and I told you Some days I wake up on a certain side of the bed and Mulan is the best Disney movie ever made. And some days I wake up and it's Lion King. I think that was an exaggeration. I think Lion King is the right pick, but it feels right at being that close.
See, I disagree. I don't think Mulan is my number two. It's definitely not my number two. I don't think it's probably even like my 3 or 4 in terms of soundtrack or a movie, but that's fine. Like I think collectively the three of us got it right based on the Twitter poll.
Sure.
So I'm totally fine with that.
Sure.
Next, we had our best snack food bracket with Keith Rayner, and we chose Oreos as the winner. And Twitter overwhelmingly agreed with that as well. At least of the 4 options that I gave to vote in the poll, which I think were like a pretty good collection. But we actually have a call-in from Keith Rayner about this episode, so let's take a listen to hear what Keith had to say.
How are we doing, guys? So the snack bracket, huh? We got everybody like Drake. They were all in their feelings. I mean, this inspired a lot of conversation, a lot of reactions in the Discord. People have strong feelings when it comes to food, and certainly for snacks and all the deliciousness and nostalgia, and even some of the shame that comes with them. There were like, I don't know, 60, 70 votes or something on the poll. It was a very popular poll. So, I mean, I feel pretty good about where we ended up. You know, Oreos, big champs. They won the poll also by a landslide. I don't have any problems with that. And look, we even snuck in some Mitch Hedberg audio. Rest in peace. When we're talking about Pringles. So, we were all over the place. It was like we were, high on junk food. So this was a meandering, joyful episode, but I really feel like it captured the spirit of the original experience that Inspired Drafted that we had in the car. So really appreciate being on for this one.
That's true. It's so great. I mean, I love all of our guests. I think all of our guests are great, Preston. Yeah. But it's always extra special having Keith on because it's true. He was there for the little seed that became the tree that is drafted. He was very much just an equal part as the two of us of the original idea of it.
In many ways, we spend most of our time hoping he doesn't sue over the IP and just try and claim 1/3 of the assets.
I definitely feel like his lawyers are better than ours. So
one lawyer is better than 0. So I would say his are better than ours. So
yeah, exactly.
That concerns me. But he used a word that I liked for our bracket episodes, which is joyful. Because I think we were trying to arrive at the same goal, which is let's focus group the best of whatever we're talking about.
We weren't competitive about it.
Yeah, it was much more like collective than the drafts, which are fairly ruthless. So I enjoyed that small moment of non-competitive energy before we got into our regular season.
I liked the brackets a lot too. We might need to do those more frequently than just for March because those really were a lot of fun. And I have to say, this was a hot topic after that episode were the Fritos honey barbecue twists, which I had never eaten. I have since tried them.
Ooh.
And they are extremely good.
They're very good.
They are very good. And even with all the hype, that like the vast expectation, I still thought they were very good and enjoyed them.
They're very good. And they're so unlike anything else you could get.
Yes, definitely a unique snack experience.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes, they're very good.
Very good. So I just want to put that on the record. Our final bracket was the best superpower bracket with Patrick Stegemiller, who we also always love having on. And we, along with Twitter agreed with us on this one, that telekinesis is the best superpower. And I still stand by that. I mean, it's just kind of OP.
Yeah. Since then, I think I've watched all the Marvel properties again. And yes, I mean, let it be known, Wanda was the closest to killing Thanos in a 1v1. And she is just a telekinesis fiend.
Yeah.
So I think that's like the appropriate place to land.
Yeah. I mean, basically, if you have telekinesis, you essentially have every other superpower.
Yeah, almost.
It kind of breaks the whole game, really.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I feel good that we arrived at that conclusion. Then we hopped over to our bread and butter. The old draft. We are drafted, after all. And our first draft of Season 2, we're going to have to hear from Keith again on this one, Preston. It was the Hunger Games quarterbacks draft. And once again, Keith, always coming through for us, sent us another soundbite. What does Keith have to say?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on the show and having me back on the show for this call-in segment. Congratulations on finishing 2 seasons. Very impressive. I don't think a lot of podcasts don't make it this far. Unfortunately, none of that helped you beat me in this draft that I was called into. Like the starter got injured, and I jumped in at a moment's notice with very little prep, right off the free agency wire, in for the QB draft. So I'm proud to have won it, even with perhaps the worst pick in Robert Griffin III, which showed a lack of preparation. But my ability to adapt, to react when the pocket's crumbling, when the situation changes, carried me through. Happy to have won. Look forward to more wins and more episodes.
This is true. Keith was a virtually literal, which I know is contradictory, but about as literally last minute a guest for this episode as could possibly be.
As in the last 60 seconds before we were trying to record.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. We had a very late cancellation, and Keith was our go-to guy. It's like, hey, can you come help us? When we got him on the Zoom call, we weren't even sure we were going to draft. We ended up going with the original draft we had planned, which was the Hunger Games quarterbacks, and I have to give it to him. Keith did win the poll. 58% of the vote. I had 33%. Preston, a very sad and dismal 8%, I'm sorry to say. Hey, don't worry. You're going to feel a lot better about that 8% later in the show.
Oh,
I promise.
God, yeah. Okay.
But Keith coming in with virtually no prep, winning this poll, I think is extremely impressive. I still think it's a mistake because I think Tom Brady is hands down winning the quarterback Hunger Games. But he did put a very solid team together.
God, RG3 is such a bad pick, though. I forgot about it.
It was bad.
But I think I didn't do myself any favors because I think I had like 5 bad picks. So
it was a tough one for you. Keith also had good picks. Like he had like Lamar Jackson, I think was one of his top picks. So and Ryan Fitzmagic was another really top pick, the old Harvard grad. So Keith really had a really well-rounded team with his NFL quarterbacks. And I can't knock him for winning the poll. I really can't. I still think my team was the strongest, but the people have spoken, and I will never criticize the drafted people except for when they're so blatantly wrong that there's nothing we can do but point out how wrong they are. But I think it was a valid decision in this one to give Keith the win.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm just still kind of bummed about 8%. That's a pretty poor showing. We're getting towards Game of Thrones cabinet level.
Yeah, 8% was tough. Was that 8%? Was that your vote?
I'm not sure I voted for myself.
Okay.
My gut tells me I usually don't vote for myself if I don't think I have the best team. And I think even on air there, I admitted it was not great. If I didn't, somebody will correct me.
And I have to correct myself now. Preston actually had Lamar Jackson. We finally have the teams pulled up. Keith had Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, then Ryan Fitzmagic, Robert Griffin, and Gardner Minshew. I think Gardner Minshew is probably a big fan favorite in that vote there. Patrick Mahomes just the best quarterback in the NFL. I don't know that he'd be the best in a Hunger Games situation.
Yes. Can I just say, I think getting Kendall Hinton in the 6th round is one of the better 6th round picks I've had. The guy who played one game at quarterback for the Broncos who can run a 4.2 40-yard dash.
The problem is no one knows who the hell that is.
I know, but it still felt like good value in the last round. Like, oh my God, this guy can fly.
Yeah. I just, looking at my team, I just think the more I think about it, the more I think I won that. But it's okay. It's okay. We'll give Keith that one, especially since he bailed us out in a tight spot. Our second draft of the season, we got to have... At the time, I could not reveal this, Preston. I knew this, but my own sister did not know this.
Oh.
But Jack Malacco, who was our second guest of the season, was to propose to my sister.
Oh, man.
And I was aware of this information. Of course, I could not introduce him as my sister's fiance because it had not happened yet. But now... they are happily engaged, and we were happy to have Jack on. He was a great guest. We had him on for the Smash Brothers characters recast as the Office characters draft, which is weird.
Yes.
But we made it work.
Yeah, sure.
But again, our guest took home the most popular vote. Jack had just over half of the vote with 53%. Preston came in second this time with 33%, and I brought up the rear with 13% of the vote. How did I fuck this up so bad?
Let's just be honest here.
Yeah.
Jack got the win.
Yeah.
He did not have the best team.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm just going to be straight.
Tell him.
And I feel better about this knowing, because if the draft had gone really, really bad for him, there's a potential that what you just said has now become true. It doesn't happen. There's some sort of butterfly effect. Because he's like, wow, do I really want to be a part of this? And all that other stuff.
My confidence is shot.
But Duck Hunt in the early round is so ridiculous. Like, I think on the air I was like, man, that doesn't seem right. That's funny. Yada yada. Now I'm like, wow, that's awful. That's a terrible pick. And like, I just think the Mario, Peach, Jim, Pam combo should have gotten me more out of the vote here. I feel like I got absolutely robbed on this.
Maybe it was too basic for the people. People were in a different headspace back in April. It was a different world.
And I gotta say, I like bringing up when Patrick Stegemeller in one of our early episodes of season 1 took Michael Jordan as a fictional athlete as a way to kind of break the rules of our game.
Yeah.
You did take Kirby if he eats Dwight, which seems like such a ridiculous stretch.
Yeah.
You could have just taken Kirby if he eats the cast of The Office 6 times in a row.
No, because once Kirby eats someone else, he loses the power of the previous person and then becomes the next person.
What is Dwight's B button in Smash Bros? If Kirby eats up Dwight, then he gets a new B button. What's the B button?
I think he just yells, Michael!
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Or he throws staplers surrounded by Jell-O at people.
I think that's his B side, like his B.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. It's still absolute bullshit that you managed to do that. But I'm glad we were able to crack jokes about it.
I think it was creative drafting, and I asked if it was okay before I did it officially, and you both okayed it. I think it was creative drafting that deserved more than 13% of the vote. And I'm being perfectly honest.
Since we're talking about good 6th-round picks, you did get Isabel as Pam.
Yes,
that's a really good 6th-round pick.
Phenomenal Pam pick.
Very good.
Yeah, I still like my team there. That was a really, really fun draft. Mm-hmm. I had wanted to do Smash Brothers something as a draft for a long time, and I wasn't quite sure what. And I can't remember who suggested Office Cast. Was it you or Jack? I think it might have been you.
I don't think it was me because I don't really.
You know what I think it was? I think you suggested casting them as a different TV show. And then Jack was not familiar with it, so he came back with the Office characters. Okay. So I think it was kind of a joint effort in getting to that draft. I really love that topic. It was so ridiculous, and what a fun draft that was. We'll have to have Jack back on for sure, especially now that he and my sister are engaged. Third of the season was the Harry Potter Magical Creature Zoo draft. We had Kelsey Hayden, who we had one of our favorite guests to have on. She's always great. She I think probably for you more than me, because she bullies me relentlessly whenever she's on.
We always manage to team up against you, and I think that's why she's my favorite guest to have on.
Yeah.
Because nobody else will really come down that road with me. I really appreciate her for that.
Yeah. Kelsey pretty much always Team Preston, which greatly upsets me because I feel like Kelsey is, in real life, a better friend to me than you. Maybe that's assuming too much. Mm-hmm. But yeah, she definitely likes to pick on me on the show. And it worked for her in this case. She won the draft, 46% of the vote. Preston, second place, 28%, just edging me with 26% of the vote. I still think this is insane from our voters. She took a magical creature that will literally kill you if you look at it.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
That's bonkers to me, blows my mind. I think... Now, this maybe is a little too conspiratorial of me to say. I felt a little bit like there just was some guest bias this season in the polls.
There definitely was. But that's okay. I mean, that's part of it. I just think we're going to have to get bigger followings than our guests we bring on. And that's a tall hill to climb sometimes.
Well, here's the problem. I think in some cases we do have a bigger following than some of our guests. I think the problem is our following loves to vote against us.
Ooh, that's interesting.
I think that's a problem.
I'll speak for my friends, and they definitely like to do that.
Yeah.
Because that makes a lot of sense. I'm looking at these teams for this specific episode. I should have won. Like, I'm looking at the Hippogriff, the Three-Headed Dog, and the Phoenix. And the Boggart, which I think is an underrated choice.
The Boggart
was like an attraction.
The Boggart was a tough one. It was a tough sell, I think.
It's going to be the best attraction at the zoo. Like, come beat the Boggart. I've turned this into like a carnival. She has all the things that will kill you.
Yeah.
It's just a problem.
Well, I think you can reasonably argue that her other picks, the Dragon, the Chimera, the Kelpie, Niffler, and Griffin, and I don't think all of those are dangerous necessarily, but I think you can reasonably argue that most of them, can be contained in a safe way so that you can see them. But the Basilisk, I just don't see. I just don't see any reasonable way that and the Basilisk was our second pick. It's not like we're picking on a late round pick here.
We're
still salty though.
Yeah.
What we're saying.
You taking the Mer people still has some ethical
listen.
It's in the name. There are people. There are people. But really, here's the real takeaway here. Did you have the first overall pick in this? I'm trying to remember.
No, Kelsey did.
And she
Kelsey
took the dragon, and I think that makes sense.
I had the third pick, if I remember correctly.
And you took a horse with a paper towel
Here's the
on
thing.
its head.
We don't need to open this one back up. I will say, even though I did not win this vote, I had a lot of people voice their support of the unicorn pick.
No.
That is without a doubt
incorrect.
Okay.
And you were like, well, you can drink its blood and live forever. I was like, yeah, that'll be great for the kids coming by. Take a taste.
Okay. Says the guy who had the boggart, who says, like, literally let the kids survive their literal worst nightmare.
It's by its definition confined. Okay. It's in that little antique little chest.
Listen, this one is clearly still too sensitive for me, so we're gonna move on. This doesn't seem right, but what I have as the next draft is the IMDb Top 100 movies that my good friend John Wolf joined us for. And Preston, you took home the first win for the Drafted Boys.
This feels great.
With 55% of the vote, John came in second with 25% of the vote, and then I rounded out the bottom with 20% of the vote. And I agree. This does feel right. You absolutely smashed this draft. I think every pick was a hit for you, while John and I both floundered in some areas. A very well-deserved win, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I have 5 picks out of my 6 that I would say are some people's favorite movie of all time. And then the 6th is Hamilton, which I think is a little bit of a stretch, but in the 6th round, you're just looking for value. I mean, I think John taking Inception in the first round he's very much leaning into IMDb culture. He's pretending that IMDb is the voters.
It was an outrageous first pick.
That's tough.
Outrageous first pick. And I have to say, John, I think, is going to try to defend himself. We do have a call-in from John that we can queue up to see how John can possibly defend his frankly outrageous top pick in this draft.
Hey everyone, it's John Wolf. I'm back. That's right. I had the honor of being undrafted twice this season, which makes me the most beloved guest they've ever had. You probably remember me and still hate me from the IMDb Top 100 movies that I'd watch for the rest of my life episode because of my hot take on Star Wars movies. Spoiler alert, they still suck. That's right, I stand by it. Star Wars movies are all bad. Nostalgia is not an excuse for a bad movie. Stick to the TV series. They're way better. Mando, Bad Batch, Rebels, Clone Wars, come on. They're great. And on the most hated people to repopulate humankind, I can't believe Daniel picked DJ Khaled. I mean, come on. Misogyny aside, that guy seems pretty cool, right? We the best! KD, though? Please. He'll backstab you in a second. He'll leave you guys and go hang out with Bezos and Elon Musk on Mars. He's in it for himself. Now that's someone you don't want to repopulate humankind. I've listened to every single one of Daniel's bad jokes since the first episode of Drafted, and I'm still a huge fan. I'm just a little disappointed still to this day that Preston doesn't know how to make a hot toddy. You need the lemon, Preston. You need the lemon. We all know it. Make sure you get in on all of the inside jokes from this season of Drafted. Don't miss it.
Wow.
He ends with a nice little promo there.
We need to hire that guy.
Okay, now, I have so many comments.
So I will say John ended with one good comment there at the end. One thing that I agreed with, and that was the hot toddy. I think everything else that came out of his mouth was absolutely incorrect.
We've got to give that up.
And I don't want to jump ahead to the celebs that rebuilt the society draft. We will get to that one.
Yeah.
But first, I think we do have to address this elephant in the room. Mm-hmm. This whole Star Wars thing.
No, it's ridiculous. Like, what's weird is he tries to defend his Star Wars take, which is that the Star Wars movies are bad, by saying the series are good. As if they both couldn't be true, because the series are good. I will say, when he starts running off the series, and he's like, Clone Wars, Mandalorian, I'm with him. Rebels, no.
I haven't seen it.
God, it's bad. It's really not very good. So, like, he's shooting darts with a blindfold on at this point. I don't understand where he's coming from. And, like, Star Wars fans debate with each other all the time. It's one of the most, like, heated fan bases. But none of that debate centers around, are the original movies okay?
It's hard to take them seriously.
No, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh. It's absurd. I don't think we need to spend any more time on it. No. But it was great hearing from John, especially with that plug. Mm-hmm. And what I love about the plug is that people are only going to hear it if they listen to this podcast.
It's true.
So the plug for the podcast, you only get if you're already listening to the pod, the best plug you can get.
Advertising.
Yes.
We know it. We love it.
Yeah, we paid John $50 for that little bit there.
It was good. He's on Cameo. Look him up.
Okay, what was the next draft here? The next draft was the insufferable conspiracy theory friend to have on social media. We had the most ridiculous guest that we can have. I think we both love all of our guests. There's no question that Tad Whistle is the most ridiculous. And Tad somehow won this one. Mm-hmm. Tad had 43% of the vote. Preston came in second with 35%, and I had 22% of the vote. Now, again, this may be a little... in the woods, in the weeds a little bit with a bit of a conspiracy theory. I think people just like Tad.
Ooh.
I think, for good reason, he's extremely funny.
Yes.
But I think when people see a Tad team or they listen to the episode and he makes them laugh much harder than either of you make them laugh because he's funnier than us. Mm-hmm. And I'm fine with that. That's why we bring him on. But I think people give him the vote because they think, oh, Tad made me laugh my ass off and therefore he had the best team. But objectively... his team was not best.
Listen, all we're doing is asking questions.
Yes.
All you have to do, listeners, is follow the money.
Follow the money.
Follow the money. Is Tad getting paid by our sponsors that haven't yet sponsored the show yet?
Holy shit.
We don't know all we're doing is asking questions.
Holy shit.
Is he getting paid to bring the show down by making sure we lose? And is he paying bots to vote for his poll? And is Twitter bad? We don't know. We're just asking questions.
You know what just happened? Preston just fed me the red pill.
Ooh.
Or is it the blue pill? Which one is the right pill? Which one is the pill that makes you see the way the world really is? I don't remember.
It's actually what's weird, and they don't say this in the movie. It's both. You have to take them both at the same time.
What?
For it to work.
Wait, really?
No.
Oh. What the hell are you talking about?
I'm trying to lead you down the rabbit hole to see how deep it goes, baby.
Whichever pill it is, I feel that pilled.
Yeah,
Preston
you
just
now
woke
see
me
the
up.
world around you as it truly is. Yeah. Which is that Tad is rigging the game.
I do want to say one of my favorite moments as a host of the show came within the last week or so. I was hanging out with some Twitch friends in Discord, and one of the people that was there was a listener of the show, and he made a reference to this episode that this is a group of people that he absolutely knew that only I would get, and it was you just follow the money.
Just follow the money.
Follow the money. I think one of the most quotable and memorable moments in the history of the show, and we can only thank Tad for that. So for no other reason, I have to tip my cap that he won this poll.
He definitely won the episode.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the better way to say it.
Yes, 100%. Mm-hmm. Now, this next episode was perhaps the most special episode we've ever done, Preston.
I think so.
Certainly to you.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly to you.
It was a dream fulfilled.
Yes. We had Preston's wife.
Oh, I was thinking of a different one.
Oh. Yikes. Cut it, folks. Awkward for all of us. We had Preston's, at the time, fiance, Lauren, right before their wedding. I mean, like the week before their wedding.
Yeah.
To draft the best wedding. And, I mean, listen, I think this is one of the most predictable outcomes of all time. Lauren won the poll. Of course she did. 55% of the vote. I had 41% of the vote, which means Preston only had 9% of the vote.
We'll get into it in just a second. But Lauren left us a clip.
Yeah. First, let's hear from the winner.
Well, I don't have too much to say because I so clearly took the cake with my wedding draft, no pun intended. But I do have some thoughts on this bonus poll. Was Daniel the best dancer at Preston Lauren's actual wedding? 90% of you said yes. Only the photos can tell. Coming soon to a Twitter feed near you.
Oh, wow. Putting us on blast. We're going to have to post those, I guess.
What a teaser.
I know.
Holy cow.
Our guests really know how to plug the show.
Yeah.
Boy, is that fun.
Yeah. They do our job for us. Also, you know who's horrible at plugging the show? Is me.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I've never had this happen once in season 1. It's happened 3 times this season. Every week, I do all the social media stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't think we need to make any bones about that.
No.
I do social media stuff. Preston does his fair share for sure. He edits every show. But so social media, what I do is I post everything on Tuesday when the episode comes out, and I tweet the poll, the initial poll, but I don't want to tweet out the teams right away. Preston makes a graphic for us every week, and they always look great. I don't want to do that for people who have not listened. I want people to be able to listen to the episode before they see the poll, before they see the results of the draft. So I wait until Friday to do that. Now, typically what I do is I will retweet the poll tweet with the graphic in some sort of like quasi-funny little thing to get people, try to drum up more votes, And it's happened 3 times this season where I've done the tweet and just totally forgotten to post the graphic. One time I even did a correction tweet and I was like, lol, forgot to post the graphic. Here it is. And in that tweet, I forgot to post the graphic. So really it's happened 4 times and twice with one episode.
And you know what? This graphic in particular for the wedding draft took me 16 days.
What?
16 days to do this. I had to go to the venues and take the pictures myself. No, I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah, that's a hard lie. I think this one got posted in time.
Yes, I think so as well.
Yeah, so you can't be upset about that one. I will say, I think this is, especially for Lauren, this is her first draft ever on the show anyway. Mm-hmm. I'm not convinced that her wedding is the best yet. But I am convinced that she is one of the best salespeople we have ever had on the show. And I said this in the episode, and I still fully believe this. No one that has come on the show, I think, has done a better job of selling their picks than Lauren did.
I agree. She, totally rolled with the punches. And she was like, well, I didn't get the thing I wanted, but now I have this, which makes this the ideal choice for what I can take.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're seeing, based on the results of the poll, why I wasn't allowed to make any decisions for our actual wedding. Because I clearly don't know what people like, what to do. It's not a big deal. I stayed completely out of the way, and our wedding ended up just fine.
Well, this was such an interesting one because you came up with this list that was exactly 18 things.
Yeah.
So it really changed the style of the draft from our typical draft.
Because everybody was going to get stuck with something that wasn't great.
Yeah.
In one category or another. Mm-hmm. And that changed it a lot. But I think Lauren ran away with it. I do think it's between you and her. But the difference is she came on and just pretended like every single thing she got was the exact thing she wanted.
Yeah, she did a great job. Now, I will say, this has been brought to my attention. I did not think of it at the time, but I wish I had. Because Lauren is the only one who, her wedding is the only one very susceptible to being ruined by rain or any kind of weather. Because both Preston and I have actual physical buildings we can be inside.
Yeah, if you're going to have bad weather, you'd rather have a low number of attendees, and that's what she has too.
Come on, man. What a shill. What a shill for his own wife.
Well, listen, the trophy's coming to the same address either way, right? So, no, it's here. I'm cool with this.
I suppose. I don't think you can take credit for the win, especially with that 9% vote for you.
God, that was
it's
bad.
It's all
But
Lauren.
that's okay. How do you know?
You married up,
How do you know that I wasn't leaving the good picks for my wife to take?
All the conspiracies. Tad's episode has just bled into the whole season for us.
Follow the money.
Good lesson for you there, kids. Remember, if you take one thing away from the show, remember that. The next draft was the presidential WWE draft, so to speak. The best American presidents to form a wrestling league with. And we had Hans on. Hans Appen, who we owe a great deal to on this show. This is a great time to plug the Appen Podcast Network, of which we are a very proud member. And of course, Preston has another show on there as well. And now he's editing other shows as well.
Yeah, I'm more involved now. If you're in Georgia, I host the Georgia Politics Podcast. And if you're into country music, I host Cadillac Jack's show, who's a former country music radio host. So both of those are on the Appen Podcast Network. And yes, thank you, Hans, for the lovely deal where we get to come on and just kind of downgrade his website a little bit every week.
Hey, come on. we get decent numbers, okay? Mm-hmm. We are a net positive for the Appen Podcast Network, and I will take that to my grave.
Yes.
But Hans, I think we did him a solid, maybe too much of a solid. He won the poll with 51% of the vote. I came in second with 35%. And Preston, despite having had the first pick of the draft, had only 14% of the vote. How can you defend yourself, Preston?
I was trying to let the first pick determine what I did for the rest of the draft, and I think that's a lesson I took with me after that I can't do that. I got the first pick.
Yeah.
Let's say I got Andrew Luck, Trevor Lawrence, whatever. I'm now building the entire team around this player, and then the player didn't really kind of come through for me in the way I expected, and the whole thing fell apart rather quickly.
Well, but maybe what you did was you drafted poorly around him, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe that's it too.
It could be on you.
If you want to list all the different ways I'm not very good at it, then we've got plenty of time.
No, I have to say I'm surprised by this, and not to make excuses again, but I think Hans got up to his clever little game he tried last season, where he just kind of tweeted the poll out without any information and got his much larger audience to support him.
Stuffing the ballot box, baby.
Not to make too big of a deal of it, but I'm not convinced of the poll results in this one. But I will say the most important thing to come from this episode is another very quotable thing that I now say regularly. And I'm glad you put it in the graphic, because me and my friends now call him this pretty much exclusively, and that is Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. Referring to President Joe Biden as Joe Biden.
Well, listen, no, they're two different people.
I did not know this.
There's President Joe Biden, and then there's Uncle Joe Biden.
Oh, no.
They're two different people.
Why did you make that so horrible? I thought it was like cute and wholesome, and now it's like creepy.
I don't know. I'm at the point where I can't anticipate what's about to come out of my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally fair. Hopefully it makes for good listening. But I mean, look, Preston, look at these teams and tell me my team's not better than Hans's.
I do like your team better than Hans's, actually. I do think it goes you, then me, then Hans.
So you think Hans was third?
I do.
I mean, listen to this team from Hans. I mean, Hans has Barack Obama. That's a really good first pick. Then he has William Taft. Who cares about William Taft? I mean, William Taft is like, he was a rotund man.
And he honestly wasn't even as rotund as people think he was.
Yeah, he wasn't. He wasn't.
A lot of those rumors aren't really all that true.
Then he has Richard Nixon, who I do think is a good heel. He has Joe Biden, who I just can't see being a great character here. I think maybe, I think it works a little bit with Barack Obama, but I still struggle to see the value of Joe Biden. Ronald Reagan, another great heel. I mean, it depends on how you feel about Ronnie Reagan, I guess. But, I think by the time Ronald Reagan was president, I wouldn't want to see him in a wrestling ring. And then George H.W. Bush, I just don't see him really bringing anything to the table at all.
Here's the thing with your team, if I can go to bat for you for a second.
Please.
Looking at mine,
I wish you'd do this more.
I don't really feel like going to bat for mine.
Okay.
Looking at yours, though, you've got personality.
Yes.
You've got the people where, like, if somebody's like, I need you to give me an impression, or give me, like, a recognizable trait if you're playing charades with 5 or 6 presidents, these are the ones they're picking. Abraham Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, Thomas Jefferson, JFK, Andrew Jackson, maybe not so much, but a great villain.
Great villain, exactly.
Great villain.
Exactly.
If you know even anything about him, you only know the bad stuff.
That's
and then
what
George
I
W. Bush, too, who people love to do impressions of.
Yeah.
It's like probably the most impersonated president we've had in a while. Yeah. So, I don't know.
Well, until old Donnie.
Until old Donnie, probably. Yeah. But yes, I think you deserved the win here, and I think you got robbed.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Preston. Thank you for speaking truth to power.
Speaking my truth.
You're being brave.
Yes.
And I appreciate that.
It's true courage.
Yeah. Our next draft, Preston, I think we should gloss over as quickly as humanly possible because it was embarrassing for both of us. Charlie Eisenhood, who's always a great guest, came on to draft the best burrito, and he won in a landslide, folks. This was the highest vote margin in all of Season 2. He took 61% of the vote, leaving me and Preston to tie at 19% apiece. I don't know that there's a whole lot to say about this. Charlie absolutely cleaned our clocks, and I want to say I bear a lot of the responsibility for this. This was, I think, the worst draft performance I've had. I've had worse results in the polls. I don't know who the hell voted for me in this one. I appreciate you very much, but it just was bad. I forgot about things that were on the board that were still there. It just was a really poor performance by me, and I apologize to all of our listeners and all of my supporters.
Wow.
Yeah.
I kind of just want to let that sit there.
Yeah, I think it needs to marinate a little bit.
I don't apologize.
You shouldn't.
I have nothing to apologize for. Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm a little bit of a picky eater.
A little bit.
And it bit me in the butt on this one. Because I drafted, out of all these 3, I do think Charlie deserved to win because he has the things that seem to be most popular.
Listen, he cleaned our clocks, as I said. I mean, he wiped the floor with us.
If I'm ordering a burrito, I'm getting mine because I only drafted the things that I want on mine. But
I mean, basically what you're saying is you're biased and picked the weird picky food thing that you drafted for yourself.
Yes, but at least I have something to stand by. Unlike you.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? Like, I'm just objectively, it was a bad draft by me. I mean, usually I don't expect to win every vote. I have to say that. And I think it's funnier a lot of the times when we don't vote, when we don't draft well. And I will say, I think a lot of the guests probably put a little bit more time into their draft prep than either of us. We have other prep we have to do to make sure that the show is actually good. So maybe a little less time into draft prep. And of course, every guest that comes on wants to kick our ass.
Yes.
And Charlie did more so than any other guest on the season. So I think we have to give him the king of the season 2 guest drafting.
Well, I want to say, I think what sums it up best is we had a reply to our poll here from Chris LaRock, friend of the show, who said, kind of looks like Charlie Eisenhood built his dream burrito, and then Daniel and Preston had to build theirs with what was left. That is like stone cold.
That's ruthless,
but it feels right.
It does. Unfortunately, we didn't bring our best efforts that night.
Nope,
we just didn't. There's no way around it, and we apologize.
I think we underestimated him after the Thanksgiving episode.
Maybe we did,
where he got his absolute shit from.
Yeah. Perhaps that was the problem.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we both rebounded quite strongly for the next episode, the 2000s TV streaming service episode. We had a tremendous guest. I tried so hard, guys, to get Britt to send in a sound clip for us. She was unable to in time, unfortunately. I didn't give her enough time notice to get her on because I know she was an absolute fan favorite. She will absolutely be on in the future, as will her friggin' Nerds Media brethren. But I did just eke out my first victory of the season over Britt with 38% of the vote, Britt taking 35%, and then Preston taking a very respectable 27%. I mean, there are a lot of drafts where 27% would be second place.
Yeah, I'm good with that. That's a fairly even split, which it seems like when you're picking stuff like this, you're going to get to. I got to say, too, this is the graphic I was most proud of.
Great graphic. Now, what I'm going to do is, for people that have not seen the graphic or just want to be refreshed, I'm going to post on Instagram what I think were our best graphics of the season, and this one is absolutely tremendous. I want to leave it as a teaser though, so people will go flock over to the Instagram at DraftedPod on Instagram, where you can see some of Preston's just spectacular graphic work over there.
Yeah, and again, we're in a situation where I would pick my team personally, but I definitely understand why I didn't win the popular vote. You've got a lot of pretty big award winners over on your side of the board.
I have to say, I really think I smashed this one. I think I rebounded very well. I took the loss to Charlie on the chin, and I was like, I have to be better next week, and I think I was. I will say that this was the most voted on of all of our drafts this season, and it was a late comeback for me. And I had a lot of friends like texting and tweeting me like, how the hell are you losing this poll? And I do think justice was served here. I mean, I really think I smashed this one, I have to say.
This is kind of unrelated, but how expensive do you think bots are? How do you get bots? Who do you text?
I think you buy them. I don't know how expensive they are. I feel like they can't be that expensive because this is tangential evidence maybe, but I was watching a Twitch stream when they got bot rated and got like hundreds, if not like 1,000 followers or something. And so I feel like, and he's not like a big time, I mean, he's not like a major big time streamer. He's not a partner or anything like that. So I feel like if people like that are getting bot rated, it can't be that expensive to buy a shitload of bots.
Just something to think about.
Just something to chew on.
Just something to chew on for season 3. If you ever see, wow, Daniel lost 28 to 4,030 this week.
Maybe
that's a hammering.
But meanwhile, our episodes only got about 180 listens.
Yeah. Listen. Just don't think about it.
Listen, if you're gonna buy bots, buy them for listens of the show, okay? Because then we can make money on that. All right.
That's a good point, but I don't get to win with that. No, you're right. It's a good point.
Come on, sacrifice for the greater good here, or the greater good of the show. So that was the start of a winning streak for the two of us, Preston. We turned it around for the hosts because the next week was the states to form a new country draft, and you took home the popular vote here with a really strong performance. I think stronger than even you said. I don't know that you even picked your own team at this draft, but you took 45% of the vote with Pat Segamiller, who we adore, 36%. And myself taking 18%. And I want to say that I think it was always going to come down between the two of you once you had the top 2 picks. I had the third pick, and with my third and fourth pick, took Hawaii and Texas, and I just don't think it was possible for me to make up your head starts with California and New York. Not to say that your remaining picks weren't solid, because I do think they were very strong, but it was just time for me to come back.
You're coming from behind, but I think now that I have some distance from this draft.
Yeah.
The reason I wasn't so high on my team is because I didn't get my home state. And I thought...
You were too high on your home state.
I thought wrongly that you and Pat would think too lowly of the Georgia folks. And I would be able to get Georgia with pick 5 or 6 on my team. And I thought, first of all, that Georgia, I do believe, is a great state, despite our problems.
Sure.
But also that a lot of our listeners are in Georgia, especially some of my friends, and that would help too. But Pat felt the same way I did about it, and he snagged it from me. And that's what kind of got me into a rut for the rest of the episode. But looking back, I do think my team is a massive powerhouse.
It's really
I think
good.
Florida...
It was a steal. It was a steal. I said it at the time.
It was an absolute steal.
I said it at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Florida was an absolute steal in the 5th round. And I think this was the decider for you. And we had people... This draft sparked a lot of debate in the Discord.
Yeah.
The draft cord, as some may call it. And for good reason. I mean, people feel very strongly about the states they've lived in, about the states they've visited and loved. So there was a lot of debate in this one. And I think the discourse and Discord backed me up on this one, that North Carolina is arguably a better pick than Georgia. And I know that hurts you to say because you love Georgia.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people probably feel that way.
And I get that. And I understand that.
Yeah.
But I can't get past my own biases here. I cannot look beyond the frame and see outside of it. I will say on the episode, I think I had some nasty words to say about Wyoming. I've spent some time in Wyoming.
Oh, yes.
And it's quite nice. I really liked it. I still don't think I would have picked it. But it's very nice. And I just want to take back and apologize for what I said.
Yeah, and that reminds me, we did get a correction. I think when I was talking about Yellowstone National Park, I credited it as being in Montana. Apparently, the vast majority of it is in Wyoming.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah. It branches over a couple states, but yeah.
Yeah. So we do have to give Wyoming its credit. But again, I don't think it's one of the 18 states that would have been drafted here.
No.
But that sets us up perfectly because one of the people who were most beating the drum for Wyoming was our very next guest, and that was our good friend Lana, who joined us for the Greek Gods reality show draft, which I won, keeping the drafted boys streak alive. I took 49% of the vote. Lana took 41%, and Preston took 10%. And I want to say, and I have to say, there was some dirty politics played here, I think, perhaps.
Whoa.
Maybe not dirty, but there was a lot of stumping on Twitter for both myself and Lana, and Preston, I think, did not participate in as much. So I think his 10% is a little misleading. I really wanted to win this one, so I sought the Twitter support.
You went for it.
I did. Sometimes when I feel strongly about something, I sing my own praises on Twitter and ask for people to vote. I will never do it dishonestly. I will never say, hey, look, ignore my team and just vote for me. But I will say, hey, here are the teams, and I'd love it if you voted for me.
I do think it's more evenly matched than the poll maybe gives it credit for between the three of us.
Yes,
But-
that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. But looking back, we were getting so into the weeds about these individual characters and all of their misdeeds. Getting Zeus in the 3rd round for you,
I agree.
it's just name ID at that point. Listen, we know he's a jerk, obviously quite terrible.
Yeah.
But he's got to be the most recognizable person on this list with the exception of maybe like Hades.
No, I mean, there's no one more recognizable than
Yeah.
Zeus. And listen, we just watched before recording this, we watched an episode of The Bachelorette with Lauren.
Yes, we did.
And there were a lot of terrible people on that show. Now, I'm not going to say that there's Zeus bad. I mean, Zeus was a truly horrific figure and did a lot of really heinous things. But I'm just saying, I think in terms of an entertainment factor, Zeus in the 3rd round was a colossal steal.
Yeah. And I got to say, I had Aphrodite with my 1st round pick, and then I think I blew it. Because I think Aphrodite is like a very, very good and convincing pick here.
Yeah.
Like makes a ton of sense. And then I think I was kind of all over the place and I didn't know what I wanted
Well,
to do.
so I think you were good through your first 2 picks. You had Aphrodite, which I'm just now noticing there's a typo in Aphrodite, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it says erudite.
Rodite. I think your Heracles pick was a really strong one too. I think after Heracles was where you went off a little bit too much off the beaten path.
Yeah. And you guys were still getting good names after that.
Yeah.
I mean, Poseidon was taken late, Ares was taken late, and good old Mother Gaia.
Mother Gaia.
And I'm not going to repeat what our guest said about Mother Gaia on the show, but
It was problematic.
yeah,
We'll just say that.
it wasn't.
Leave it at that.
It wasn't great.
It wasn't good. It was not good.
It was not good.
So we'll just leave it at that. Because our next draft was a historic one, Preston. It had a historic, an historic, I should say. But Americans say historic. So I feel like we can leave the N off of the A historic. You know what I mean? That's just how I feel about it.
Okay.
Anyway, now that I've gotten that off my chest, it was the first time in drafted history that any of our drafters received 0% of the vote. The first time ever. It was not you. I think Preston, I just saw Preston's panic in his eyes.
I got so frightened.
This is one of the treats
no.
that we are recording together in person. I never would have noticed that if we were over Zoom. Preston had such a genuine moment of panic in his eyes just now that he was the first person to ever receive literally 0 votes. But he should know that he didn't, because he should remember that he voted for himself.
Yes,
and
I forgot about that.
I think there have been a couple of times where maybe one of us has saved ourselves from getting the old offer with the old self vote.
Oh, yeah.
But this guest, who we already have heard from tonight, and that is John, didn't even take the time to go vote for his own team in this draft, and that is the worst celebs, I should specify, to rebuild society. I took the win with 58% of the vote. Preston took 42%, leaving John with a seemingly impossible 0%.
Yeah. Don't know how that's possible.
He had a bad draft.
Little bit of behind the scenes insight here. I have long wanted to do a let's draft the worst possible combination instead of the best. And we did it for the Halloween
candy
episode. Yeah, and I wanted to run it back. I still think there is a way for, if we have a guest on, meaning there's 3 total people on the show, for us to draft the person's team who is up picking. And then, so in this situation, John and I would have debated and kind of collaborated on who to pick when it was your turn.
Interesting.
And then
the collab I'd not thought of.
Vote would have been there. And I think that makes for some more gamesmanship between the 2 players that are playing. That's just a little tease for something I think we could get into.
Oh, yeah. I think that might make for a longer episode. So I don't. If people are into that, please let us know on Twitter, on email, draftedpod@gmail.com, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever. Let us know if that sounds like something that you guys would actually enjoy as an idea for a draft. A little twist on the drafted formula. Now, the hot topic of this draft was everyone's opinion on DJ Khaled, and I think we have to address it. We have to address the elephant in the room. Now, I want to say, I think I'm going to take responsibility for this, because I think I did a very bad job of portraying what DJ Khaled said that made me think he's a disgraceful human being. Now, people have given me a hard time for the way I phrased my phrase. I still stand by that. But I could have done a better job of saying how horrible the quotes were from DJ Khaled, because as soon as we'd finished recording, I went and looked up the article and read some of the actual quotes that he said about his opinions on oral sex. Can I say that? Is that okay? Is that okay to say oral sex?
Yeah, it's fine.
What's the phrase that you want me to say? What's the phrase you want me to use that won't make you squeamish?
I'd honestly just rather move on.
No, we have to. This is like the topic of the entire season. Okay. Anyway, he says a lot of extremely fucked up things about how, like women's place in society and men's role in partnerships, and it's just fucked up. And I did a bad job of saying, listen, he feels this way, and this is why he's a bad guy. And I will take responsibility for that. But I feel like at this point, if you still think DJ Khaled is not that bad, then that reflects on you.
I will add that in these conversations, Mr. Daniel made it seem like I was a massive fan. That I was I was going to follow him on tour or anything.
I think John, and we heard John in his call-in.
Yeah.
I think John is still thumping the DJ Khaled Bible.
Yeah, and in the call-in, if you'll remember, he said, despite the misogyny. And when you're defending someone and you have to start like that, you're going down a bad road.
It's a bad start.
And
it's a bad start to any sentence.
We've got to talk about the second half of John's draft here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because it's insane.
It's bad. It's really bad.
He goes Rush Limbaugh, Bono, and then Bill Simmons, who I think is definitely hateable. I do think there was better people you could have gotten down the line.
I think Bill Simmons is a better pick than Bono, interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then you have Kevin Durant.
It's a horrible pick.
That might be the worst pick of the season, especially where it was taken.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. I think it is the worst pick of the season.
Because you and I have talked about it even some more since then, and we kind of agreed he's a sympathetic figure now at this point in his career.
Yeah, he's fluctuated up and down. But even in the grand scheme, like when he was at the pit of like the Kevin Durant as a snake narrative, he was never on par with any of the other people drafted in terms of like actually being a bad person.
Terrible people.
Yeah, 100%.
Not they switched sports teams that might as well be like fictional conjures of our own mind. No. Like, we're talking about actually terrible people here.
Yeah.
And Katie does not belong.
Yeah, I was shocked. Especially, John works for the NBA.
I know.
What was he thinking with that pick?
It's amazing he still has
I'm glad you said it, because I do agree that I think that was the worst pick of the entire season. If you disagree, again, hit us up in the usual spots. What was the worst pick of season 2 of Drafted? We'd love to know. I do think my vote goes to John taking Kevin Durant. He wasn't even approaching my draftable list for this draft.
Here's the question, because the original prompt, I think, was to take the best 6 celebrities from our list.
Did he just get confused midway?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he read the wrong Google Doc or something.
Yeah.
But I don't think he would have ended up on our list for best 6.
No.
There were some truly kind of cool, great people on that list that thankfully didn't get mentioned here. But boy, that's troubling.
It wasn't good.
Well, it
was
kind of
not
makes
good.
you think. John works for the NBA. What does he know that we don't know?
He didn't share it with us, so I don't think we can go on.
Yeah,
I don't think he deserves the benefit of the doubt, if I'm being perfectly honest. That brings us, rather sadly, to our final draft of the season. And that is the sitcom housemates draft. And this poll, as of recording, is not yet finished. Obviously, if we waited for it to finish, then we wouldn't be able to get an episode on Tuesday. But as of recording, Katie Gear, who we brought on for our season finale, has 43% of the vote. You, Preston, have 38%. So very much still up for grabs. We still have a few days left in the poll. I think you could take this one.
Yeah.
And that would mean, if you do come back to win this one, that would mean we won the final 5 episodes of the season all in a row, which would really bring us back, because we got our asses handed to us by our guests.
I'm gonna need to push that one a little harder.
Yeah,
I think.
push it. Absolutely push it. We can topple Katie at the top of the poll. Although I feel like I'd feel a little bad about that. I just love Katie so much.
Yeah, but she doesn't deserve to win.
Yeah, I mean,
She doesn't have the best team.
Yeah,
Let's just be honest here.
Listen,
I
I
had
agree.
the most overpowered first overall pick in this season. This is the 10,000 rats of season 2. It absolutely is.
I don't know if it's
no
a 10,000 rats, but it's a very strong first
I
pick.
drafted Google Assistant.
But with personality.
With personality
charming
and charm.
personality, yeah.
And just like a loving nature.
Yeah.
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 It's broken.
It was a phenomenal pick. And I really am sad to say I didn't even consider Janet, which is the pick we're all referring to in the sitcom housemate draft. But once Preston made it, I was like, oh yeah, that's the perfect pick for this draft. I mean, it really is the absolute unquestioned number one pick. And you didn't do enough to ruin it. You know, I don't think you necessarily blew me away with the rest of your draft, but it was fine. You were in there. You did not let yourself down after getting and identifying clearly the number one pick of the draft, in my opinion.
Yeah. There is a massive grenade in Katie's team, by the way. Which is that Nick Miller is just a terrible
horrible.
Grenade.
I mean, it was a terrible pick.
Makes no sense.
I think what's happening right now, well, one, people love Katie, and for good reason. We love her too. So I think people are kind of naturally inclined to want to side with Katie. And I think people are going to see, like, she drafted a lot of lovable characters from sitcoms, but I wouldn't want to live with most of them.
No.
I really just wouldn't.
I really wouldn't either. I didn't want to say this on the show because I didn't want to hurt Katie's feelings. I find Chandler Bing to be kind of insufferable.
Oh, boy. You should have said it.
Yeah. So I've watched Friends. I don't think you've watched Friends all the way through or anything like that.
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I don't like Friends.
Okay. Now, do you not like it and you have watched it, or you don't like it and you haven't watched it?
I've not watched it. I've seen it, and I've never found it funny.
Interesting. It's not in my top couple of its style, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But part of that, I think, is because it invented the style. So now when I go back to watch it, I'm like, this is just like everything I would expect.
Yeah. A big part of it for me is the laugh track.
Oh, God, yeah.
I can't really do the laugh track anymore. I used to like How I Met Your Mother, which was a show we talked about a lot in that draft. And I just, like, once I kind of became aware of the laugh track, I was like, ooh, it's just real cringy. You know, I can't do it.
And I think if we ever come back, you know, in our off season, we do another bonus poll. I'm really curious to hear what our audience thinks about would Chandler Bing actually be a good roommate? Because I know he's charming, but like he's also, I don't know, he also just seems like a child.
Yeah, isn't that kind of his whole thing?
Yeah. I should have said this on the show.
Yeah.
But, Katie's there, and I'm like, wow, it's so cool that Katie's here. And it's just,
Yeah, I feel like we both get a little starstruck whenever
Yeah,
Katie
it
comes on.
doesn't come up.
Yeah.
Doesn't come up.
That does make me want to ask a question, though. Do you know what your biggest regret of season 2 was?
Not winning more of the episodes. I mean, I mentioned it a little bit with the Georgia pick, but I still think I got the right value at the right time. Obviously, if Georgia had still been there late, I would have taken it.
You can't say your biggest regret is from a poll that you won.
That's all,
Come on.
totally true. But
Come on.
it's tough. I gotta say, my wife wasn't super happy that I took Kylie Jenner on one of the most despicable people on the planet. She wasn't thrilled about that, but I stand by it. So I don't know. It's a tough question to answer. Do you have something that comes to mind?
Oh, yeah, immediately. I mean, I think it's my biggest regret in the history of the show, not just the season, and that is forgetting that shredded cheese was on the draft board in the Wwe Draft. I think it was the blunder. It was the biggest blunder, at least since you took the mountain.
Yeah.
In the Game of Thrones executive branch draft.
Yeah, and you're saying of at least leaves the door open for potentially being bigger.
Yeah,
but I don't think that's true.
I think it's a different kind of blunder. Yeah. You made a horrible judgment call.
Yes.
I totally forgot that a very valuable pick was even available.
Yeah.
It just was a bad moment for me. It was a dark, dark moment for me in the history of the show. Mm-hmm. And I think it fueled me to a much stronger finish. I think that was my wake-up call when I realized I really needed to bounce back and actually, put some effort into these drafts and stop, embarrassing myself out there. So I think I reacted positively to it. But it was rock bottom for me for sure.
Yeah, that's tough. But listen, hey, we got, I don't know how many more seasons we want to try it, but we got
who knows? Who knows?
Back. Yeah.
We're going to keep doing seasons as long as we have time and it's feasible to do, and as long as people keep listening.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you love the season, listen, if you have any ideas for drafts, for sure hit us up with those. It's best if you do join the Discord. If you're not already in the Discord, we have a whole channel in there for show ideas that when we're trying to scrape together an idea for a draft, we do hit those up. And this season, we use a lot, I think, of drafts that were suggested to us in the Discord. But yeah, I hopefully a lot more to come from us. We are going to take some time off. Mm-hmm. I think our plan probably will be to, like last year, come back with some seasonal themed draft for Halloween, Thanksgiving. Can we do another draft for Thanksgiving? What else can we draft for Thanksgiving? We've got months to figure it out.
Draft your least favorite relatives. and okay, here's what it is. Title: Least favorite relatives, parentheses, name names, close parentheses.
Yeah, okay. I'm perfect. Who are we going to bring on to draft that one?
One of my uncles.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah,
because he's on my draft board too. So we're gonna hash this out live.
It's gonna get real awkward, which is only fitting.
He's gonna be first overall pick, and then it's gonna ruin the whole mood of the room.
Yeesh.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough.
Well, that'll be fun to look forward to.
I'll also say we'll probably end up doing a stream at some point.
Yes.
So everybody should follow Daniel on stream, which is help me out here.
Twitch.tv/DAP_sauce.
Thank you.
Yeah. I do think we'll, in the meantime, definitely have some live shows because those are a lot of fun and a little easier to kind of work into the schedule. And we get to mix up the format of the show a little bit, which is always a lot of fun as well. But we're going to keep hanging out in the Discord as well. I mean, always hang out with us in the Discord. We're going to have a lot of fun, even though we aren't going to be making episodes every week as usual. But, and Preston has just reminded me, we do, more than anything, have one guest to look forward to who we were unfortunately able to get into this season, who I know is a favorite of many of you, and they called in. Let's give a listen.
Hello, boys. I'm just calling in to say how offended I am that I was not asked on for season 2. But it's okay. I know it was just because you're terrified of me and how easily I will destroy you in any draft that we do. But it's okay. I can wait for season 3. Just know that I'm coming for you.
And that was, of course, the voice of Lindsay Sue, who we were truly devastated to not get on in this season. And I have to say, they were supposed to be our first guest of the season, but we had a catastrophic technological error.
Yeah, like a meteor hitting my computer, basically.
Yeah, only it was my computer.
Sure.
And then also a remnant of that meteor hitting Sue's computer.
Across multiple states.
It was an absolute nightmare. It was a source of tremendous stress, especially for me, and I felt really terrible about it. And Sue is the busiest person I know, and we did try a couple times to try to get them back on, and we just couldn't make it work. I promise you we will get you that episode that we lost. We will make it work. We will bring it to you for season 3, and we will also get Sue back on for additional drafts beyond that. So Sue will come back to Drafted. We still love them very much. They're still one of our favorite guests, and we do feel very bad that we could not get them on season 2.
What I take away from that voice clip is how easily terrified I am.
Yeah.
That was super intimidating.
It was intimidating.
I'm feeling pretty bad.
Sue might be the most intimidating person that I know.
Woof.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to it.
But you are, though, because they're great.
Uh-huh. On that note.
But anyway, guys, thanks so much for all the support, especially on Patreon. That really meant a lot to us. I'm just about to Venmo Preston his half of the Patreon money we got this season, which will be a nice, tidy little sum. So that support meant so much to us. Everyone who's joined the Discord and participated in conversations and retweeted and voted in polls. We wouldn't do the show without you guys. You guys are what make it fun. Everyone who has supported the show in any way, especially our guests as well. People who take time out of their busy weeks to come hang out with us and be silly and stupid and dumb with us for other people's entertainment. We love y'all so much.
Yeah. Also, Roll Tide.
Come on, man.
I know. Listen.
Oh my
Football
God.
season starts. We're going to get back into the sports-related drafts for our seasonal episodes. Top 6 Bama players you would want to come hang out at your house.
Absolutely no one wants that. Absolutely no one wants that.
Okay.
And no one wanted the Roll Tide either. But I think it's the perfect sign.
My job is not to give people what they want. It's to give people what they need to hear.
Yeah, fair enough. But on that note, guys, we will talk to you in a couple months, hopefully, with a Halloween episode. But hopefully, again, we will see you before that as well. But thank you to everyone who listened to Season 2. We'll talk to y'all when we talk to y'all.